Unique people leading unique lives shape and inform Iowa City. This community is enhanced by these women and men who live in our midst, working, teaching, creating. Welcome to a series of conversations with people who have stories to tell. Join my guests and me, Ellen Buchanan, in a series of interviews called One of a Kind. Glenn Patton, the University of Iowa's swimming coach, came to Iowa City in 1975. Under his leadership, Iowa's swimming program continues to be a contender for the conference championship. The U of I team consistently ranks among the top 25 nationally. During Patton's tenure, the Hawkeyes have placed in the upper division of the Big Ten 19 consecutive years and have placed in the top 25 at the NCAA tournament 16 of the last 17 years. Glenn has coached 11 Olympic competitors, 24 individuals to All-American honors, and 40 individuals to relay All-American honors. In addition, he has coached 79 Big Ten champions and led 3 teams to undefeated dual meet records. In 1989, Coach Patton had his first 2-time NCAA individual champion. Before coming to Iowa, Glenn coached in Alfred, New York, first on the high school level and then at Alfred Tech Junior College. He had much success as he led the junior college swim team to 4 straight national titles and was named Junior College Coach of the Year 3 times. He was active in the National Junior College Association, serving both as president and secretary. Glenn has taken an active role in the politics of swimming and is involved in numerous swimming organizations. He served on the board of directors of the World Swimming Coaches Association, representing the NCAA coaches. His community involvements include the former chair of the Wahawk District of the Boy Scouts of America, chairman of the Hospice Swimming Event, and Community Leadership Council. He and his wife Joyce have raised 3 children in Iowa City, Marcia, JJ, and David. Welcome to One of a Kind, Glenn. Your story, I know, begins in New Haven, Connecticut in 1942, where you were born. And I read that your parents came from Scotland. What brought them here, and what did your father and mother do?
Well, that's correct. My father moved to America when he was 15 years old. His family moved over. An older sister had moved over a few years earlier, and the family came over, and he was, as a 15-year-old boy, because his dad was unable to get a job, forced to withdraw from school and start working. And he went on to a very great career as a printer in the printing industry, and made some outstanding job changes and relocations. And so I moved several times and went from New Haven, Connecticut to a little town named Hamden, Connecticut, and moved up to Massachusetts, where I grew up on a lake, which was a lovely place for a young boy and his brother growing up.
Because I'm sure the small towns you lived in did not have swimming pools, and swimming it seems it has always been a passion of yours. So you learned to swim in this little lake?
Right. I learned to swim in Hamden, Connecticut, in some swimming lesson programs. But then, in the 6th grade through high school, we lived on this lake in Lunenburg, Massachusetts, and so I swam regularly, but never in any competition. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of little small towns, we didn't have a high school swimming team or even a swim club in the community. There was no high school pool or anything like that. And so my first competitive swimming was in college. I participated in athletics in high school, but in other sports.
So do you have any siblings?
My brother Bruce is 2.5 years older than I am. He lives down in Cape Canaveral, Florida. He works at the Space Center.
Is he swim too?
No.
No, he doesn't.
No.
So tell me, did you know when you went off after you graduated from high school that swimming was going to be your life's work?
No, I really didn't. I was involved in other sports, and I was in a freshman swimming class at Springfield College. I went to Springfield College in Massachusetts, and as a freshman in the swimming class, there was a few other students in the class that were on the swimming team, and part of the skills test we had were some races for time, swimming for time. Mm-hmm. And I actually ended up beating a couple of the guys that were on the team that were in the class. And the swimming coach said to me, "What do you do during the wintertime, Smoke?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, well, why don't you quit smoking and come out for swimming? So I did, and it changed my life immediately.
That's great.
Yeah.
So at this time, did you meet your wife Joyce when you were in college?
We met in high school. We went to about a high school about 5 towns apart, and we were both representatives on our church youth group through the Congregational Church to a statewide council. And we met on that on our end of our junior year, started dating our senior year of high school. She went to Bates College up in Maine, and I went to Springfield. We dated all through college, and we both graduated from high school in 1960, graduated from college in 1964, got married that summer. I went to graduate school, got my master's degree in 1965, while Joyce taught school. And then I began my professional career after that.
And you taught in a junior high, correct? You
Right.
taught.
I was a high school swimming coach and junior high school history teacher in New York State, upstate New York, Alfred, New York. They also offered Joyce a job teaching first grade. The school system had grade K through 12, kindergarten through 12, all in the same building. It was a very small school district. And we went there because they offered us both a job, and we thought that would be fun. And the principal, when he was showing me around the community, pointed out 2 colleges that were local colleges that neither one had a swimming pool, and he said both had plans. And by that point in my career, I was wanting to end up being a college coach. So I thought, well, if I do a good job locally, maybe I'd have a chance to get one of the college jobs. And the first college job of the 2 that opened up was the junior college, Alfred Tech, which was a branch of the State University of New York. So they offered me the job, and I took it.
So getting back to your junior high school, there was a pool? What
Sure.
did you?
They had a brand new pool. I was their first coach and started their swimming program. And I was there only 2 years, but we were fairly successful for a high school program. And so I was able to get the junior college job at Alfred Tech and moved on to that.
And were very successful there.
Right. I was there 8 years, and my last 4 years we won the National Junior College Swimming and Diving Championships, during which time I was anxious to try to move my career onto a Division I level at a major university like Iowa. And lo and behold, in 1975, Bump Elliott, our former athletic director at Iowa, hired me. And
Well, how did he hear about you?
well, I heard about the job opening, and so I wrote to him, and then he wrote back, and then that was just about the time of gender equity, and Title IX passed, just shortly before that, and there was a kind of a halt put to the job search. Bob Allen, our previous coach, was in the step of retiring, and they held on to him for 1 more year while we were trying to decide at Iowa what to do with gender equity issues and whatnot. And so during that time, I guess I dealt with Bump Elliott like he was a swimming recruit, and every time I mailed something to our recruits, I mailed it to Bump Elliott. And I guess he got impressed with my career to that point, and so fortunately, he hired me, and my family, my wife and I, Joyce and I, as well as our 3 children, have just absolutely loved Iowa City ever
But you'd
since.
never been to the...
No, Ellen, I had to look on a map and see where Iowa was exactly.
You knew it was near Chicago,
Yeah.
but...
I knew it was west of the Mississippi, but I wasn't sure exactly where. So.
Oh, I love it. So that was in 1975, like I said.
1975. And actually, for a person, a lot of people have asked me around Iowa City, when I first moved here, how do you like Iowa City? And I would respond, well, we love it here. We've never lived in a city this big. And people would look at me like I was crazy. But here, we grew up in the East Coast, both Joyce and I, and this is the largest city we've ever lived in. When we were in New York, it's upstate New York, rural country, and we had to drive 65 miles to get to a town as big as Iowa City. So we were 360 miles away from New York City. So we didn't go to New York City very often.
It's so interesting that the swimming program at Iowa has only had 3 coaches.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
We started swimming in 1917, and here it is, 1998. We have had only 3 swimming coaches. At one point, all 3 coaches were alive, and in fact, we have a photo here.
Yes,
of that.
that'll
And
be
Dave Armbruster was the first coach. He coached for 41 years. That's a long time to get your feet wet every day.
That sure is.
Then Bob Allen replaced him. He was an assistant on Dave Armbruster's staff, and Bob is deceased, as well as Dave Armbruster now. And Bob Allen's son, is the football coach that was at UNI that's now at Kansas, Terry Allen.
Right.
And
How long was Allen a coach?
he started coaching here as head coach in 1957 until I came in 1975. And then I've been here from 1975 till today. So.
What is the best part of your job? Do you like the teaching? Do you like the coaching? Do you like the mentoring? Do you like the recruiting?
I think the best part of a coaching job is actually working with the athletes. you get closely involved with a group of athletes, and you're striving for excellence. They're highly motivated athletes, and it's exciting to work with highly motivated people that are striving for excellence to become all that they're capable of becoming, and you're just kind of a tool in their toolbox, so to speak, to try to help them reach their potential and get as fast as they can go. And of course, swimming, we have an exact objective measurement with a stopwatch. We can measure their performance, and sometimes that causes some heartbreak, but sometimes it causes a lot of joy and excitement and celebration.
Looking back over your career, what are some of the highlights?
Well, that's a lot of highlights. It's difficult to narrow down on them, but certainly back to the junior college level, winning our first junior college national championship, and then going on to a streak of 4 of them in a row, and we hosted one of those meets at Alfred Tech. And I was the first, that was a new pool, I was their first coach, so I built that program from the ground up, same as the high school program. And then
That must have been very satisfying.
Oh, that's tremendously satisfying.
It's your imprint, your stamp.
Right. You know, you can just totally mold the program the way you want it. That's exciting that way. And 3 athletes I had at Alfred Tech were National Junior College Swimmer of the Year winners, and so that was exciting. But for a swimming coach, moving on to the next level up, Division I, it truly was exciting for me. I was excited the day I got the job, and we moved out to Iowa City, and the youngest son at the time, JJ, who's now a doctor, graduated from Iowa, swam at Iowa for me, and graduated from our medical school. He had his 5th birthday the day we moved. We stayed at the Highlander Inn, in fact. So that was an exciting day. But then winning our first Big Ten championship in 1981, my goal when I came to Iowa was to stop Indiana's winning streak. Doc Councilman, the legendary coach in Indiana.
Yes, we've all heard of him.
And he had won 21 consecutive Big Ten titles, and I was hoping that nobody else would develop a team good enough to stop him until we could, and I knew we would. It was only a matter of time. And in 1981, the Big Tens were at Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at a neutral site, and we won the Big Tens and stopped his winning streak at 21 consecutive years. And he was a former assistant coach to Dave Armbruster here at Iowa, so it was kind of a bitter pill for Doc Councilman to swallow. I mean, he knew he was going to lose someday.
Did he shake your hand?
No, actually, he stormed out of the pool with the last event in progress. Never said a word to me. Yeah.
Well, how about what happened the next year then, in '82?
Well, the next year we hosted the meet at our pool here in Iowa City, and the old Fieldhouse pool, and that was exciting. And we won the meet by a large margin and had some outstanding performances. I think back of maybe Randy Abelman being one of our truly great athletes at that meet. He was our diver. Bob Ridds coached him. He made the United States Olympic team, and he was a Big Ten champion that year, along with a number of other athletes that we had that were Big Ten champions. But Randy's gone on to a brilliant, brilliant coaching career. He's been the National Diving Coach of the Year at the University of Miami on numerous occasions, and of course he was from Cedar Rapids, Washington High School, and so that was certainly a highlight.
And to have the win here.
Oh, that was tremendously exciting. You know, this picture of my father and I cherish this picture because my father's deceased now. He died of cancer, and here we were right on the pool deck celebrating right just immediately after this event was happening in Iowa City, and that was the immediate celebration right on the pool deck as the meet concluded, and that's a very fond photograph I have of my dad. So then there's certainly been a lot of other highlights. The athletes on our team that have made the Olympics, I've been fortunate enough to have 11 of our athletes make the Olympics. Several of them have been medal winners. Artur Voidat was just a brilliant, brilliant swimmer for Iowa, won 9 NCAA championships. He's the young man on this poster with Irving Weber celebrating 75 years of Iowa swimming. Of course, Irving Weber, the great Irving Weber, I mean, our #1 swimming fan and our #1 citizen of Iowa City, really. He was our first All-American back in 1922, and just a tremendous, tremendous friend to so many athletes. Every swimmer that ever wore the black and gold at Iowa and every diver had a contact with Irving Weber, every athlete. So that's remarkable.
Well, I saw him at your swim meets, tell of the tradition about ringing the bell at the swim meets. Irving would do that.
No, there was nothing like having Irving ring the bell. These were Olympic bells that he came back from an Olympics. He went to a number of Olympics, and he came back with these Olympic bells. At the Olympics, they have a bell lap instead of a gun lap. In America, we shoot a starting pistol off on the distance events when there's 2 lengths to go for the swimmer. At the Olympics, they ring this bell over their lane. And so he came back with these bells and said, wouldn't it be fun to start the meets with the bell ringing? And we've started all the meets until he passed away, with Irving ringing the bell. And that was a real loss. And I was asked by a few people, well, who's going to ring the bell? Who's going to take over for the bell ringing? And I thought that was kind of a tradition that maybe needed to pass away with Irving, because anybody else ringing the bell, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be Irving Weber ringing the bell.
I think that's probably a good resolution to that. So you've had who are some of your other swimmers that have gone on? I know you had one who won a medal at the Pan Am Games.
Right, Tom Williams, who's a brilliant young man now. He's a motivational speaker for youth groups and all around the country. He operates out of Los Angeles. And Tom Williams was the 1987 Pan American Games gold medal winner. The meet was at Indianapolis, Indiana. That was the beautiful pool that Indianapolis was built for the Pan American Games. And my whole family was fortunate enough to be there to watch Tom win the gold medal. And isn't this a beautiful picture of him celebrating his gold medal win at the Pan American Games? That's in the water immediately as he finished. It was just pure elation and emotion showing on his face and throughout his physique. And Tom was a great young swimmer to coach. He was from St. Charles, Illinois, and just made tremendous progress, was a Big Ten champion, and obviously NCAA All-American, and a great athlete. And this event, the 1987 Pan American Games, was certainly the highlight of his career, and a very exciting moment for me,
Sure.
And of course, we've had other ones. Rafael Tsukawa was a silver medal winner in the Olympics. The closest second place finish of any second place finisher in the Barcelona Olympics. He was second to Pablo Morales from Stanford, California, lost by 3/100ths of a second, which is about that far in a swimming pool. And
what a heartbreaker.
Yeah. Hey, of course, John Davey was a brilliant swimmer for Iowa. John is our current assistant coach. He's my full-time assistant coach, coaches our stroke swimmers, middle distance group. And John was in 2 Olympics himself, plus I think has a very unique character about him as far as his credentials go. He is the only athlete in the history of the Big Ten Conference in any sport to be the conference MVP of their sport all 4 years of his eligibility. So he was the swimmer of the year for the conference, the Big Ten MVP, all 4 years of his eligibility at Iowa, and had truly a great career here at Iowa. And I think because of that, he could be called maybe perhaps the most outstanding all-around athlete in the history of the Big Ten Conference. I'd get some arguments from some other people on that, but we certainly feel that that's a tremendous accomplishment to be the only athlete to be the MVP all 4 years of his eligibility.
And you have him as your...
And he's now our full-time assistant coach here, along with Bob Ridds, our diving coach. Bob has been my diving coach at Iowa since I got here. I hired him a month after I was on the job. So he and I have worked together now throughout these 23 years, and we have a close relationship together, and we've done a lot of ups and a lot of downs together, and we're really looking forward to a new era of Iowa swimming and diving when our new pool gets
When will it be?
Well, we haven't been told the date yet, but the project has been approved by the Board of Regents, and we're moving along on the design phase of the project very quickly, and we're excited about having a new competitive facility and being able to recruit on a more national level.
Tell me, what do you consider your perhaps greatest strengths as a coach?
Okay, I think one of the things I really enjoy a lot, and perhaps is one of my strengths, is working closely with the group that I happen to be coaching. Lately, I've been coaching the sprint group at Iowa, and John Davey coaches the stroke group, and we have a distance coach, and then Bob Ridds coaches the divers. It's really fun to work with a smaller group and get really close. It's like in football, maybe a position coach. You know, the quarterback coach works with the quarterbacks, and the receiver coach works with the receivers. And that kind of closeness really is fun. I also really enjoy the public relations that our coaches at Iowa do. You know, we go out to about 35 I-clubs all around the state or around the Midwest, really, and it's fun to meet people. I've met a number of very good friends that we've developed good relationships with, like George Justice out of Cedar Rapids, who's the president of our swim club board of directors. Met him at an I-club a long, long time ago at the Lynn County I-club. He was our corporate host there. So those kind of things are fun.
Sure.
And makes the job kind of rewarding. And I enjoy that kind of, I like public relations work. I like the recruiting part of getting out and actually having home visits with recruits and getting to know the recruit's family, trying to measure if that recruit's going to fit in with our program and with what my beliefs and my philosophy, et cetera.
Where do you find some of your good swimmers? On
Well-
the West Coast?
Well, the West Coast has the best swimmers. The Sun Belt in the United States is the growing ground for the top swimmers in the country. Of course, they can swim outdoors year-round. I mean, how often do we take our children and our grandchildren swimming in the wintertime in the cold weather climate? We don't. You know, in the summertime, you think, oh, let's pack a picnic. Let's take the kids to the swimming pool or to the lake or to the river or wherever you might like to go and go boating and swimming and stuff. And that doesn't happen during the winter months in the cold climates, whereas in the Sun Belt, that's happening year-round. The families are making the trip to the pool or to the lakefront or to the ocean or wherever they might go. And
Or their
because of-
backyard.
Or their backyard,
backyards.
right. And because of that, then kids start developing some pretty good swimming talent. And maybe a lifeguard says to them, hey, why don't you come out for our local swimming team? You know, you look like you're pretty good in swimming. And they join the local age group swimming team and start progressing. So.
Glenn, I'm curious, looking back, you told me about what you consider some of your wonderful swimmers, your greatest swimmers, and your strengths. Who's influenced you, or who's made a major difference on your life? I know you've influenced your young swimmers, but who's influenced you?
I think professionally, Red Sylvia, my coach, Coach Sylvia, was a very large influence in my life. He's the one that influenced me to go into coaching to begin with. I think my wife had a big influence on me. You know, Joyce and I have done a lot together, and she's a very integral part of my coaching approach and my philosophy. We entertain our recruits at my home for dinner. She goes with me to a lot of fundraising functions. She participates with me in entertaining our alumni when they come back. She's a very important part of my team that I've put together for coaching the sport of swimming and doing all the public relations work and everything. So she certainly has been a very big influence in my life. I think my father was a big influence in my life. He was very, very interested in athletics, and he made sure that my brother and I both spent a lot of time in all the various sports endeavors that young children get involved with, and he certainly got me off to a good start on that.
So you mentioned your wife. Now tell me where your three children are. You mentioned your son is in residency.
Right. JJ is our middle one, and he was the student athlete of the year at West High School, his senior year of high school. Paul Burmeister was the quarterback that year, and he was the athlete of the year, and JJ was the student athlete of the year, and graduated with a 4.0 and came to Iowa and swam here at Iowa for 4 years and went to Iowa Medical School, graduated last year from Iowa Medical School. He's now in Davenport at the Genesis Family Practice Center doing his residency there. And he wants to be a small-town physician in the state of Iowa. He loves Iowa, and he loves small towns, so we're pleased with that. Marcia is our older child. I call her Mar. She was our manager for us for quite a few years. Even as a high school student, she used to take our splits for us at our meets and journeyed with me to the away meets and things like that. And I miss her a lot. She's down in Tampa, Florida. She's married with her husband, Tim. They have a beautiful house right on the water, right on the intercoastal water with a nice boat. And she put in a pool in her backyard.
And swimming. She's probably swimming.
She was very involved in our Learn to Swim program in the Iowa City area. She ran the swimming lesson program at the North Dodge Athletic Club for quite a few years. And so she's enjoying life down in Florida. And then our youngest son is David, and he's a junior at the University of Iowa. Marcia also graduated from Iowa, so all three of our children have gone to Iowa. And David's kind of the entrepreneur of the group. He's a junior at Iowa, now owns 2 large houses on Burlington Street and lives in one of them and rents both of them out, to students. And he's got the little flair for business and entrepreneurship. So we're
Well,
proud of him. They're all different. It's
Yeah.
quite exciting.
And your job, it's been a family affair, really, hasn't
It really has, yeah. And my family all goes on our Christmas training camp trip together. Every year, swimming teams all around the country go to Florida or somewhere sunny and warm because swimmers love to swim outdoors. It's kind of more of a reversion back to where they learn to swim, and so they love swimming outside. And during the holidays, we have a full month off at semester time here at the University of Iowa. So we let them go home for Christmas, and then we regather and go somewhere warm for a training camp. We go to Florida, and my whole family goes, and that's exciting. So my family has been very involved in the University of Iowa swimming program.
I read in your bio, Glenn, that you're involved in the politics of swimming. What does that mean?
Okay, well, as a
you?
junior college coach, I was heavily involved. As you mentioned during the introduction, I was president of our Coaches Association and secretary. And then when I came to Iowa, I remained involved in the national level and became very involved in the College Swimming Coaches Association. Was on their board of directors for quite a few years and served as president for 2 years. Was on the board of directors for the World Swimming Coaches Association, which was formed just about 8 years ago. And I was on the founding board when they founded the organization, and I was one of 2 representatives representing NCAA and college swimming interests. This is on a worldwide board. So I've tried to stay very actively involved because I think you should. I think it's good to contribute something to the profession, and it's good to get involved administratively in whatever career or endeavor you happen to be in. And my wife is like that also, and I'm real proud of her. She's been very involved in the community. She was president of the University Club, which is the largest group in Iowa City. I think there's over 800 members in the University Club. It used to be called Faculty Wives Club.
I know,
but
it's open.
it's an open club
yes.
now, right?
Well, when you're not coaching and you're not involved in your swimming organizations and you're not swimming yourself, what other things do you like to do? How do you relax? How do you,
Well, I don't swim too much myself anymore. I find it's more relaxing to get away from the pool and go do something else. So I like to jog. I'm starting to have some knee problems, so I haven't been running as much as I used to run, but I love boating. We have a little cottage right on the Iowa River just below the Coralville Dam. It's the first piece of private property south of the dam. It's a little small summer cottage, just 1 bedroom. It's tiny with a huge, huge porch. So we entertain a lot up there in the summertime. And I love to boat right there and just boat on the river.
Just as a little aside, but what happened during the Iowa City flood?
Oh, we got devastated, Ellen, during the flood. Our cottage was basically underwater for 12 weeks. And our home, we live in Iowa City. Our backyard runs out on the city park. We're on the riverside of Normandy Drive. And so we have a split level home, and our lower level had 5 feet of water in it. So the flood was devastating to Joyce and I. We're still recouping financially from that loss.
Well, I was going to ask you what were the best things about living in Iowa City. I know you have liked raising your children in Iowa City, other than the flood, which was hurt a lot of people.
The flood could happen anywhere,
Right.
and a natural disaster is catastrophic to those people that it affects. And I don't hold that against Iowa City. We love Iowa City. We absolutely love living in Iowa City. I go to California often recruiting because that's where the best swimmers in the country are, obviously. They lead the country every year in the production of numbers of high school All-Americans, for example. Every time, Ellen, I go to California, I come home thinking I'm very thankful that I'm raising my children in Iowa, or now that they're all raised, even my junior in college. I think we've done the raising of him.
Sure.
He's on his own. The California lifestyle, it would be great as a swimming coach. Professionally, probably would have been a good thing for me to do. But I think there's other things more important in life than your career, and one of those is family. And I'm a very big family person. I'd prefer, when my children were young, going home and playing with them on an afternoon when I had some time off rather than going to play golf. So my golf game has suffered. I've never become a very good golfer. But I've got a great relationship with my children. I think they prospered growing in Iowa City. The schools in Iowa City are just so fantastic. Just this past weekend, we were in California and talking with some people. We talked about how the school children in Iowa lead the country in the ACT scores usually, and we were second, I think, last year in the SAT scores, and people were just flabbergasted. Why don't we hear that about Iowa? They only hear about the disasters in California. We're on the news out there when there's a flood or a tornado or a drought for the farmers or something like that.
Well, you'd be a great ambassador for Iowa City, Glenn. You are a great ambassador for Iowa City and the university, and I think we'll end it on that great positive note. Thank you for being my guest.
You're very welcome, and it's not hard to be an ambassador for Iowa and for the University of Iowa.
I'm with you. I agree. My guest on One of a Kind has been the University of Iowa's swimming coach, Glenn Patton. Fondly known as the General, Patton in 1992 became the winningest swim coach in Iowa history when he surpassed legendary coach and Hall of Famer David Armbruster. Glenn earned his BA and MA at Springfield College in Massachusetts, where he was a swim captain and an NCAA All-American. Under Coach Patton's leadership, the University of Iowa swimmers have continuously placed in the top 25 nationally and are consistent contenders for the conference championship. Endowed with energy, enthusiasm, and a winning smile, Glenn Patton has been a positive influence on numerous young swimmers. Glenn Patton is one of a kind.